Hello everyone, today we're solving paper 22, October-November 2021. So, just a second and get my pen. Okay, let's start. All living things can remove toxic materials and other substances that are in excess of requirements. What is this process called? As we know the short form, MERS, NERG. Movement, respiration, sensitivity, nutrition, excretion, reproduction and growth. Excretion. Excretion is the removal of toxic materials and other substances that are in excess of requirements. Two animals have identical sequence of amino acids in one of the proteins found in their body. When they say that they have identical sequence means that these animals are related, right? So obviously eating the same food won't be the case. Also, that won't count. The only one that actually makes sense and is a valid point that they share ancestors, because variation occurs which cause them to have some differences in the other proteins, which is actually valid to have like some identical sequences that haven't evoluted. How many tissues are shown? 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not really having a calculator at the moment, so I'm just like I'll write this answer in the comment section. Where are these cells found? Cilia is found in the trachea. Cilia is a finger-like or hair-like projections that are beats and moves to swipe the mucus out of the trachea. And another name for trachea is actually bronchus. It's not another name, but it's a part of the trachea. Which statement about diffusion is correct? Requires energy, it's always active transport. The particles must cross a cell membrane. That's not actually the case for diffusion. It can cross a cell membrane, but that's only a must in osmosis and active transport. The net movement of particles is set up is up the concentration gradient. That's only for active transport. The process involves the random movement of particles. Yes. Which type of molecule is labeled X in the diagram? Protein. That's basically a carrier protein. Alright, so something to like easily remember it. C looks like a G. A T, they're the ones left. This goes with this goes with this, you're done. A means that it needs a complementary base, so that's TT. Alright, so basically this question is talking about an iodine test in a leaf. It has a white area and a green area. Chlorophyll is a green pigment, right? So I'm sure you have like some common sense and you would actually easily note down that white area won't have chlorophyll, white area won't photosynthesize, white area won't produce starch, the white area will not test positive. What are the positive results for iodine? Blue black. What is the negative result? Remains brown. So the white area must remain brown, right? So this is remaining brown, this is remaining brown. The green area must turn blue black. C. Here are independent and dependent variables, so that makes the answer A. For the test tubes we set up as shown in the diagram. In which test tube is the starch digested more quickly? A, B, C, D. Whenever they say boiled, the enzyme amylase will obviously get denatured, means that there won't be any reaction. Even if they will be, it will be very slow. So we're rejecting C and D, B and D. And as you know, as heat increases, kinetic energy increases, causing particles to move more faster, causing the enzyme and the substrate to collide more often, making them to form an enzyme substrate complex. And it forms a product in a faster rate. So a higher temperature causes a faster reaction. C. I'll also write this question as I'll be including pictures for you to easily understand this question. But the answer will be B. The diagram shows the surface view of a part of the epidermis of a leaf. How many guard cells are present? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Where does the most water absorption takes place? In the small intestine. The diagram shows the large food molecule changing in smaller molecules. So large to small, that means digestion has occurred. The diagram shows a newly planted seedling and the same seedling a few hours after being planted. What is the correct explanation for what happens in the leaves? Basically, this is called wilting. Wilting is when transpiration rate is more than the water uptake, so that causes a loss of water from the leaves and does not maintain its strength because the xylem is the one that provides support. So when there's very low water, it won't provide support and it won't do its own function. Translocation is the movement of sucrose and amino acids in the phloem tissue of the plant from source to sink. Which organ can act as a source? The roots acts as a source when it's winter, like when there's no flowers, for example, and no leaves. It won't photosynthesize and it leads to live. So the storage would act as a source. Which component of blood produces antibodies? Lymphocytes. What do shunt vessels connect? Arterioles to venules. Which graph shows how the pressure inside the lungs changes when taking one breath in? Oh, alright, so you can actually do this right now. So, like, take a breath in. You'll find that the intercostal muscles have contracted. Obviously, you won't feel that. But, like, as you studied, the intercostal muscles will contract, causing the rib cage to move upwards and outwards. This increases the volume, which decreases the pressure. As the pressure will decrease, we are removing this and this. Both of these have a decrease in pressure. And then, like, as the pressure decreases, the air would diffuse from a higher concentration to a lower concentration. From the air to your nostril, through the trachea, through the lungs. So that's basically causes more particles to be present in your lungs, which increases the pressure. And see, you find that the pressure decreases, so that's not the answer. The answer is B. And then this process actually stops when the pressures are at equilibrium. Some features that help to defend the body against pathogens are listed. Which features can prevent pathogens entering the body tissues? Mucus present in the trachea and the nose. Skin prevents the pathogens entering. Stomach acid kills the bacteria before entering the body tissues in the stomach, such as HEL. Phagocytosis happens along the blood, along the body tissues, so that's not the answer. So it's B. Temperature increases. What happens to the movement of body of bubbles as the temperature increases? Temperature increases, kinetic energy increases, speed increases, more collision, more reaction. A. What statement about lactic acid is correct? What is lactic acid? For example, like when you're doing vigorous exercise, your muscles respire very fastly, right? So at one point, your heart and your lungs are not able to supply the enough or needed oxygen for the muscle cells to respire. So it changes its respiration from aerobic respiration to anaerobic respiration, producing lactic acid. This lactic acid gets built up in your muscles, which causes cramps. So after your vigorous exercise, your heartbeat remains high because it needs to repair the oxygen depth and breaking down of lactic acid. So that's basically B. The diagram shows mammalian kidney, cortex, medulla, ureter. The structure listed the part of the nervous system. As you know, nervous system effector relay. Which process is is a response of the body that is a part of a negative feedback process? Release of insulin to respond to low. No, insulin is used when the blood sugar is high. So you only do this case if you're planning to kill that person, and hopefully it's not your neighbor. Anyways, vasoconstriction in response to an increase in blood temperature. That's not the case. That happens only to prevent loss of heat when your blood temperature is low. Uh, Synthesis of glycogen in response to increase the blood sugar. That's actually correct, so that's the answer. Pupil reflects to bright light. You can actually memorize this. Pupil reflects to bright light. Circular muscle contracts. Radial muscle relax. The pupil will decrease in size to limit the amount of light that enters, so it protects your eyes. Unless you want to get blind, that's your choice. The seed is placed and grown on a rotating disc as shown, which diagram shows the appearance of the seedling shootings after 7 days. So basically, if you left it without this rotating basin, it will actually like tilt right, left, downwards. It depends on the light or the gravity. So as you're rotating it, the oxygens are distributed in all surfaces. So that prevents the damage, right? Or like not damage, but then it causes the equal elongation of cells. And there's no phototropism. So the answer will be A. What are disadvantages of asexual reproduction? The coffee beans produced by all cells are identical. That's not actually a disadvantage, because if you're having a very good or GMO seed or high grade coffee beans, you would actually really want or look forward to have everything identical. Two parents are needed. Actually, asexual do not need two parents, you know. One parent is needed. That's actually an advantage. All parents are equally susceptible to the same disease. That's the answer. Because if there's like some disease that is in that area or that crop area, that will actually like pass along the full crop, making you lose a lot of money. Which statement about the human immunodeficiency virus HIV is correct? Antibodies cannot be made. HIV infections can be treated with antibiotics. Nope. Viruses cannot be treated with antibiotics because antibiotics breaks down the cell, or it stops the replication. But basically, a virus, it takes over the machinery of a normal human cell, so it won't be identified. HIV destroys lymphocytes. HIV is spread by coughing and sneezing. Nope. HIV is a sex-related disease which is transmitted through body fluid. And the answer will be C, because it does not stop antibiotics to be made. It destroys lymphocytes, while lymphocytes are the ones producing antibiotics. Sorry, antibodies. Which statement about diploid human cell is correct? There are 22 chromosomes on X or a Y. Nope. There are 22 pairs of chromosomes and 2 sex chromosomes. That's actually very correct, because that makes 23. The gene of something something is found on the X chromosome, and the allele for hemophilia is recessive. There is something called recessive and dominant. Dominant can be expressed if it's there. Recessive can be expressed if two X and Y are having the same gene. In the pedigree diagram, the dominant allele is shown as XH, and the recessive allele is shown as X small h. So let's do this diagram. XH H. Oh, I'm sorry. Just like forget this. H, Y, and then here's X, X, H, and H. Let me just correct this. Alright, so instead of writing it just like XX and then HH, X, H, and XH, so that's basically a heterozygous, and then the last one is the XH, YH. I'll be doing another video explaining this process. Alright, so as they said here, for this disease, a recessive is like a dominant is XH, H capital, right? So this would wait, let me change the color. This will express the disease. This will express a disease. This won't express the disease, and this would be a carrier. A carrier means it's heterozygous, so there's a chance that it will and a chance it won't. Or it can actually carry it for forward generations. So that makes it a 50-50 chance. What is the adaptive features for xerophytes? Well, actually, like the adaptive feature would be that they have thick cuticles, right? Because they're plants that are found in desert, so they don't really want like a lot of water loss. So they have thick cuticles covered with wax. If they're having like many stomatas, that would cause actually a lot of loss of water and vapor, so that won't be actually beneficial. If their leaves are large, there will be a lot of transpiration. If they do not have roots, they would suffer from wilting, so they have very long roots. The diagram shows the growth of bacteria population, which section represents the exponential log phase. It's basically B. It's like when everything is suited, the environment, the nutrition, habitat, and then there's like a rapid growth of people or bacteria. A species of insect is usually has a pale color wing. This helps them to camouflage on pale colored green tree trunks. A few of the insects in this species have darker colored wing. After a number of years, the tree trunk become darker in color. Okay, so that's actually natural selection. It's because the like some evolution happened or something happened in the environment that causes the more or the fittest or the more fitted in organism to survive, because the lightly winged insects would be actually very visible for the prey, which makes them eaten. The diagram shows the part of the nitrogen cycle. I'll be also making a video about nitrogen cycle because it's been a very confusing concept. But for the time being, we're going with D. Either way, I'll just explain it in another video. I think it will be more clear. What is the characteristics of bacteria that makes them useful in genetic engineering? The genetic code is different to plants and animals. That's not the case because there's some genes that are actually implemented or like planted into the humans after cutting them and placing them into the bacteria. So their DNA codes or genetic codes are actually very similar. Their nucleus contains DNA. Nope. Plasmid can be transferred between the cells. That's actually very useful because plasmid is like an extended DNA, which you can like remove or cut, remove or place in other genes by restriction enzymes and DNA ligase. What is the useful product of anaerobic respiration in manufacturing of bread? It's carbon dioxide. What are the reasons why species become endangered? Habitat destruction, obviously it won't be endangered if the habitat is protected, right? Hunting, introducing species monitoring, nope. Hunting and captive breeding programs. Captive breeding programs actually it protects the environment and the species, so nope. Seed banks as well, like it protects the environment and it maintains the biodiversity, so that leaves you with A. If the nitrate concentration in lake increases, fish may die due to events listed. So that's basically eutrophication. So first off, let me read it for you. Increasing aerobic respiration, increasing decomposition, increasing growth of producers, reduction in dissolved oxygen. So eutrophication is when the fertilizer just like surface runoff with the water. So nitrate causes or enhances the growth of producers, right? So this would be the first one, rejecting A and B. Alright, and then like when you increase the growth of producers, they use oxygen. This reduces the amount of oxygen. Alright, so if nitric concentration in lake increases, fish may die due to the event listed. So that's basically eutrophication. Eutrophication is the when like when the fertilizers dissolve with the surface run of water and enter lakes. It enhances the growth, though it causes a increase in growth of producers. Alright, and then this causes increase in decomposition of dead producers. Alright, thank you, and alright, as we see, we're done with this paper. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed. Please subscribe and leave comments if you have any questions.